So, after working out the Zero video for so long, I thought I would like to take a break and start 2 new secondary series. Don't worry, these are not replacements. We will get to Ace Combat 7. In the meantime, while I try to figure out a way to get footage of Ace Combat 6, these will kind of fill the interim and be the start of some stuff I'd like to get to afterwards. So if it has not become abundantly clear, I am a huge fan of Mecha. Now, you might ask, well, what is that? That's more or less what this first video will try and do. Set up a simple working definition of what is mecha. See, the thing usually attributed to mecha is a human-shaped robot, and it's usually pretty big. The definition seems pretty obvious. Mecha is just Japanese anime with some humanoid giant robots. Simple enough. Except as a thing, mecha has many exceptions. Mecha have a huge variance in scale and size. Mecha are also sometimes piloted and sometimes not piloted. Mecha, ironically, are also sometimes biological. Sometimes they're cyborgs, which makes you question the whole mechanical part, which is the root of the word for mecha. Sometimes mecha are also autonomous, and they are robots with a specific limited personality, and sometimes they're basically fully sentient. Mecha sometimes are also mechanical in the sense of modern technology, but also sometimes they're mechanical in the sense of more outdated technology as well. Basically, the deeper you get into this, the worse it gets. Sometimes mecha is defined as a genre, but then sometimes it's defined as multiple subgenres that all just happen to have a robot-shaped thing in it. Even worse, sometimes a genre has entire stories about wondrous but ultimately non-humanoid machines altogether. This shit is not really new either. This blurriness goes all the way back to the root of the word robot itself, which now for us basically means a human-shaped computer-operated machine. In the 1920 Czech play RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots, this is where we get the name robot from. But the actors here weren't exactly plain machines. They were kind of like cyborgs, or maybe they were a replicant, or some kind of artificial slave. So even the source does not really help us. Just what the hell is this thing called a mecha? Why do I and so many other people seem to be fascinated by this? Like, isn't this just some stomping, infantile object of destruction we like romp around? Basically, I'm going to give my own definition. One, like many of my ideas, I was never taught and kinda cut out and developed more or less naturally over years of thinking about this problem while I enjoyed watching these shows and reading these stories. Oh, and before we get into it, I'm just going to throw the real robot and super robot definitions into the fucking garbage where they belong. Okay, that's a little mean. The more nuanced reason is simple. You can basically use these definitions to rope in a bunch of mecha shows before and then sort of after Mobile Suit Gundam, the original 1979 version. But after that, the definitions break down and it really doesn't become useful anymore. And even around that time, there were plenty of exceptions. So anyway, let's move on. The basic truth is actually pretty simple. Humans like human-shaped things. Hence, anthropomorphism. We are basically like pretty much any other animal on Earth in that we prioritize 3 specific groups of information. 1. Things we can eat or are useful. 2. Things that are dangerous and will try to eat us. And 3. The really big one, identifying and working with other us's. That is, in this example, naked, upright ape humans. What this leads to is us consistently looking for human-shaped things everywhere. Our brains are always naturally trying to pull people and faces out of random information. I mean, think about the world, it's just a bunch of sensory input. It's a bunch of things you hear and feel and taste. And if you're trying to find another you, yeah, it would help to have a pretty good pattern recognition to draw out other yous, or just generally work together to not get eaten by giant cave bears. Now add to this another factor. Humans also have a bit of a thing with size. I should probably be specific here. Basically, assuming you're not a growth-accelerated genome soldier who woke up fully formed in their 20s, you're probably a small man grub or child. As a child, we experience the world quite a bit smaller than our mature forms. From this young age, we get a very general association of height equals strength, or height equals ability. Adults can go around and do all this stuff. They are stronger than us and bigger, right? Okay, so we have the ingredients for our initial founding idea here. Bigger equals stronger, more powerful, or more important. But also, we like human shapes and human-shaped things. So what do we get? Ta-da! We get culturally giants. That's what we get. We get giants. The Nephilim, the frost giants, the Oni. We as humans generally associate big people-shaped things with big strength logically, even surpassing the adults. After all, small child, we can't do much. We grow up, Adults can do a bunch. What if there was something past adult, though? An even bigger thing with abilities surpassing even that of the grown-up. But something is also working here. Something more abstract. See, we as living organisms in this big wide world are regularly confronted with abstract concepts. For our simple, naked, upright ape mind, we have to deal with a lot of these life-threatening things that you basically have to master to not get killed. Drought, war, luck, damnation, and so on. So from this, we get the other aspect. We get gods. That's right. Time to anthropomorphize these difficult concepts into nice people-shaped ideas. That's what they look like. And they want blood, or maybe, immolated children, or animal sacrifices, or a lot of prayer, incense, so on and so forth. This is obviously a bit of a gross simplification, but don't worry, because it's time to shoot forward a few thousand years. To... So it's finally happened. Humanity has put all of the parts of all those machines together, and we are now completely surrounded by them. Wars once fought with noble sailing ships, and people mercilessly killing each other with, pointed sticks, have now been replaced with industrial, steam-driven engines. Better and better cannons shoot against better and better developed armor. Trains do the heavy lifting of moving the masses and even go underground. Factories pump out goods and remove 10 underpaid workers' fingers in mechanical accidents daily. The whole world has suddenly been turned upside down by the sheer usefulness and power of machines. Now unfortunately, or fortunately for us humans, we happen to also still exist inside this mega contraption of civilization. But all of this stuff I mentioned before still exists. People literally see their buildings tower into the sky from the industrial steel and concrete that can give them strength. Bigger and bigger steel boats sail the seas, and now entire fleets of steel submarines patrol underneath them. Massive zeppelins and then huge fast planes zoom around and can fucking fly, holy shit! And soon we're going to space? What? Even the unreachable aether of the spheres with their perfect music is within the reach of technology and man. But amongst all of this, people also still see themselves in the machine. We as people think about the idea of a mechanical man as we became, in essence, mechanical using men. So it's finally time to return to that definition I said I would do. Mecha stories are basically stories where the machine is character or the character is machine. The embodiment of great power or abstract concepts and ideas. In essence, it's a pretty simple solution. And instead of trying to define mecha around exactly what is and what is not mecha, and it's entirely trying to decide this based on colors or aesthetics or power or how big they are or how much they're mechanical, I instead just decided to kind of look at how the thing functions. As our world became steeped in machines, we mentally reworked and reassociated our connections with the abstract concepts we anthropomorphized to reflect this new mechanical nature. Our stories became a reflection of this. With our relationship to machines defining our new imagined fictional world, we adjusted. Mecha, in truth, is not really something new. It's not this inundation of some kind of weird machine-shaped toy craze. The reason it's fundamentally appealing is exactly the truth. Mecha is the reincarnation of our innate human desire to personify the bigger, stronger, and complex forces of our world into the familiar human forms we feel very much in touch with. So basically what I'm saying we got were giant, godlike machines. Now I should also add to this definition helps as well that the often neglected non-humanoid shaped machines. If the machine is given character, an arc, even a silent one, then the media it belongs to starts to become mecha. Maybe not entirely, but at least in part. This is why on many sites interested in mecha, viewers are also naturally drawn to science fiction, and shows where there ain't no big people-shaped robots per se. Shows like Star Trek, where the Enterprise, or the Defiant, or Deep Space Nine are not just ancillary cool settings. The places and machines themselves become as familiar and appreciable as a character basically as much as the main cast. So using this definition, we can still include the more obvious mecha options because they all fit even better. Amuro and his Gundam, Shotaro and Tetsujin, they're both characters as machine, operating their mecha, whether directly as pilot or not. What about some Western stuff? Knight Rider? It's got a driver. Yeah, it fits pretty damn well. Battlestar Galactica? Hey, I wonder if the machine called Battlestar Galactica is a critical piece of the show called Battlestar Galactica. Generally, I like this definition because it basically means that any story that has its machines in the foreground, regardless of whether they are humanoid, but absolutely for the show with giant humanoids as well, they are all responding to this relationship. Of course, as well, one will say, Hey, what about the biological giant humanoids? What about Evangelion? Well, this is also pretty simple. As in the definition, if the machine is a character, and the character is a machine, then the biological materialism of it comes from the obvious part. The aforementioned Ava's being literally half god, half Shinji's mom clone very much checks the box for either of these options. Now, there is one loophole in this logic I can address. If you can manage to find a series with like a giant organic, like maybe like a bug thing, like shaped like a human, or maybe not, and it's piloted by a human, or controlled maybe, but also it's not characterized, and it's not a prominent part of the story, like it's just a background thing, and it doesn't really get a lot of characterization, then congratulations, that, by my definition, doesn't exactly fill out Mecha. But like, good job finding whatever that is, and please tell me in the comments, because it sounds kind of interesting, I kind of want to watch that. But otherwise, this works for everything else. Nazca, Ava, Dunbine, Gasaraki, the movie version of Escaflowne, Detonator Organ, Guyver, also Makoto Kobayashi's cool-ass Ideon redesign. And hey, even stuff like Ultraman, and hell, even a lot of kaiju films come pretty close with the corresponding to the whole embodiment of godlike power or abstract forces / ideas, often with huge form. The definition also helped me understand why I really don't have any interest in the later Macross series. I don't care if your whole damn ship turns into a humanoid robot. The main focus is continually on the idols, and buying the idols' overpriced audio dramas and tie-in music albums, then yeah, I'm probably gonna check the fuck out. Oh, and fuck Titanfall. Nope, that's Mecha. Sorry, you personified your machine, and it's a man-machine relationship, so yep, definitely Mecha. Oh, and one last thing for the really, really annoying TV tropes poster. Mecha that run on magical systems? Arthur C. Clarke, take it away, baby!
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Bitch.